The Delaware State Fair began a century ago during a vastly different time for the state and nation. Despite the turmoil and difficulties that faced the country, a few townspeople gathered in Harrington, Delaware, with a dream that was much bigger than them. As the history and the story of the fair's past and present unfolds, be sure to take notice of the numerous people that have contributed to the planning and the execution of this July tradition. This Treasured Memories video series is a salute to our past, our volunteers, and most importantly, our supporters. Our fair relies on their heartfelt commitment year after year to provide a joyous experience for hundreds of thousands of fairgoers. The Delaware State Fair would like to thank Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield Delaware for their continued support of the Delaware State Fair and the support of this video storybook. This is our story, our centennial celebration. This is the Delaware State Fair. A handful of townspeople gathered in the Harrington Railroad Station in 1919 with a dream, a vision, and the ultimate dedication to make our first fair a reality.
Well, the history says that there were a group of guys, Harringtonians, who sat around, congregated at the train station, the old train station, a lot. And one thing led to another. And I guess given the agriculture in the area and the interest of those guys, they virtually decided to start a fair. And they proceeded to do that, acquiring a little bit of acreage in the area where the present fair exists, and then growing out from that as they, more people got interested, and they established a board of directors and got shareholders involved, and but it did grow out of that idea around the old train station.
In order to fund the first fair, the board of directors sold shares of capital stock at $25 apiece. Enough shares were sold, and the first fair was set for July 27th through the 30th, 1920. The years that follow stayed true to the original foundation to promote agriculture, provide entertainment, and to be the social event of the year in Delaware.
But the fair has meant a lot to Harrington, and I can remember going back many years as a child, every business in the town of Harrington closed at 1 o'clock, fair week, so that the employees could go out to the fair. It was a social gathering back in the 50s and 60s. Women did not wear shorts and jeans like we do today, and it is fun to go out there and sit and talk and just visit with people you sometimes don't see. But year to year at the fair, it means a lot to the community of Harrington, and I think everyone in Harrington enjoys the fair.
The mission of the Delaware State Fair focuses on the preservation of the past, promotion of the present, and the education in the future of agriculture, horticulture, mechanical arts, and rural and domestic economy. Agriculture and such industries have maintained a strong presence in Delaware for generations.
Of course, the fair started out for the farmers showing their animals, and it's come a long ways.
The fair is Delaware's celebration of a state culture and industry that has become a mix of high-tech business models and family-run operations.
I remember Jim Straits saying many times, the owner of Straight Shows, don't ever forget your roots. And his theory was that people can go to see entertainment and they can go to get rides at a lot of different places, but they can't come and see agriculture like you have here. See the animals, bring their kids to relive part of their history. And that's what we're doing with this 100th anniversary. We're reliving our history and remaining, reminding ourselves of where we came from and the good things that have changed over the years. There's been many good things.
We lived on a farm, had no electricity, and this was in 1934, and I was 4 years old, and my father came to he and Uncle Britt, they had the concessions to sell racing programs. We had horse racing Tuesday through Saturday, or Tuesday through Friday, and automobile racing on Saturday. And I wanted to come to the fair, and Dad said, you cannot go until you're 6 years old and you know how to count. And he let me come to the fair the first year I was 6 years old, he let me sell programs at the west end of the grandstand. And I sold 200, 10 cents a piece.
One thing that I remember is everybody dressed up for the fair. Yeah. Almost like everybody dressed up on the boardwalk, at night when you went to the boardwalk. But everyone dressed up, and even the men, I remember during the daytime, often wore suits and ties. And the fair weather.
Our fair consistently takes place during the last part of July, and history has shown just how intense and unpredictable the weather in Delaware can be during that time. It has become a part of our story to learn and adapt to whatever the week might bring and make the best of every moment.
Well, I think it's part of our American heritage, really. The old country fair still exists in a great way. You can see animals, you can see all sorts of people, you can see people that you haven't seen. That's one of the big thrills for me, is when I left the fair, people used to say, "Do you miss the fair?" I miss the people. I see people at the fair that I don't see any other time of the year, but I see them at the fair. They're all there at the fair. And if you want to get the feel for what Delaware is all like, what it's about, and you want to meet people and see what the people of Delaware are like, that's why you should come to the Delaware State Fair.
In its earliest days, live entertainment at fairgrounds was dominated by musical revues and vaudeville shows.
The Manhattan Rockets is what they were called, but they played there as part of what you would call now a variety show. It was a vaudeville, was the term that was used back then. And there would be, people would just love to go to the fair and see that.
But in 1955, the Fair Board felt that something special was needed to mark the debut of the brand new grandstand. They made a daring move announcing that they had hired their first headline act, the Mariners, a four-man gospel and pop singing group that had its start in New York City and were well known across the country.
Really different how the entertainment has changed. My first time at the fair where the big name entertainment was the Mariners. And the Mariners was a group off the Arthur Godfrey show, on a TV show for Arthur Godfrey. And that was our first big star.
This bold shift proved to be a successful one and was followed by many more famous headliners. While the fair typically offers a variety of music and entertainment every year, country music has remained the most popular ever since the fair's first country act appeared in 1958 with Jimmy Dean.
You should see Tennessee Mamselle.
There was a point in time at which most of the entertainment we bought was low price, didn't want to take a loss at anything. And I remember when we first got Willie Nelson, it completely changed our entertainment. And so, we've had some phenomenal success with the entertainment that we have.
Well, we have an entertainment committee, and that entertainment committee meets a lot, looking as to what type of entertainment do we want to have for the upcoming fair. Because what we want to try to do is we try to have entertainment every night of the 10 days.
It's changed so much, and what it costs now to get these shows here, people wonder why it costs so much to buy tickets. It's not hard to figure that when you bring this kind of entertainment to the Delaware State Fair, you got to pay.
And we've been getting really great entertainment here at the Delaware State Fair. Matter of fact, I would say we rank probably within the top 15 across the nation for grandstand shows. And it's all from being the support of our administration, our president, our general managers. And it's just been a great experience to be able to see how the Delaware State Fair has changed from the Kenton-Sussex County Fair to the Delaware State Fair. And since 96, the difference in this fair since 96 till now is just totally amazing. You would not recognize it.
My granddaughter and 4 or 5 of her friends come down every year, and it's a big thing. And Entertainment is, I think, that money's been wisely spent on that.
Jake Owen, he was amazing, hands down. It was like last year, the year before, and it was phenomenal.
Probably one of the best shows I ever saw was Brooks and Dunn. It was amazing.
My favorite concert, it was a long time ago, but it was when Brad Paisley came to the fair and Taylor Swift was his opening act back before she was like really popular. That was my favorite one.
Darius Rucker, and he was amazing.
My favorite concert I saw at the fair was Keith Urban.
The fair has had a tremendous amount of good acts that just started out, and before their career really got going, you really saw these acts at the beginning, and we saw Kenny Chesney at the State Fair.
Even in the inaugural years, the fairgrounds proved to be full of amusements around every corner with magicians, comedy acts, and so much more. Kids went wild in 1957 over the opportunity to meet the Lone Ranger and his faithful companion Tonto.
I went to work for Mr. Jim Stokely, and they brought the Silver in here, and I took care of him for a couple of days till he was here for the fair. And Silver had thrown the Lone Ranger off the week before up in Madison Square Garden.
Nightly fireworks burst onto the scene in 1921.
The fireworks for that's a class act that board does for that. People come down and see that.
The goal of delighting audiences of all ages have continued throughout the year, with a variety of acts such as jugglers, pogo extreme shows, talking robots, roaming dinosaurs, and so much more. And the proclamation of bigger and better continued in 2018 with the debut of another stage at the new Hertrick Plaza located in front of the M&T Bank Grandstand, with free concerts by Redhead Express and the return of the fan favorite Vocal Trash. In 1924, it was decided that an agricultural parade and pageant was to be had. With the procession extending entirely around the half-mile track, every community in Kent and Sussex County was represented by agricultural floats and walking groups. The fair's nightly parade maintains with that same essence of an old hometown procession marching through the fairgrounds, featuring horse-drawn carriages, floats, vintage cars, antique tractors, marching bands, magicians, and puppeteers. In 1921, automobile racing was introduced when Fair Secretary Ernest Raleigh proudly proclaimed, "With pride we announce these races, because we believe this modern sport added to our attractions, with appeal to every red-blooded resident in the territory."
Well, I enjoy this track because two things, like you said, the nostalgia that was here. It was a fair going on in the background. Like we had the fireworks, and then the track itself was very challenging, and most people got frustrated. They wanted to be here, but they when they got here, they were very, very intimidated by it. I think there's several of us that enjoyed it. We enjoyed the challenge, because it was different crowd,
Grandstands were full.
It was always standing room,
The infield, same way.
Same way. And you couldn't even, we had the pits in there obviously, and then it was packed. You had a hard time getting out on track. You had to mingle along through the people.
Right.
But the spirit of auto racing remains alive today through the Demolition Derby and monster truck attractions.
Demolition Derby, I mean, that's a big thing. People want to, like I say, see the crashing and everything else.
Harness racing was one of the fair's earliest contests.
I remember the starting bell, and the judge would be in the stand and the bell, and the first thing he would say when a race horses come out on the track to race, they would have to line up and take off when the bell rang. He would always announce, "Do not beat that pole horse to the starting line," right? If anybody did, he'd clang the bell and have to go start all over again.
In 1952, harness racing did take a hiatus and was replaced by rodeos, but quickly returned in 1953.
I'm looking forward to a great year for 2019, because I think that it'll be one of the best that the Delaware State Fair has ever had.
The spirit of Founding Fathers Jacob O. Williams' slogan, which was adopted in the fair's second year of bigger and better, remains alive today as bold efforts continue to propel the entertainment endeavors at the Delaware State Fair. Animals have maintained a constant presence at the fair over the years. The history of agriculture and its long-standing roots at the fair have drawn crowds of curious fairgoers. Casual attendees can choose to roam through the various barns on the grounds to see and learn about a variety of animals, including cattle, sheep, goats, swine, horses, and more. Livestock exhibitors, on the other hand, have specific goals to accomplish during the fair, and their animals are their priority for the month leading up to their shows.
Showing animals is a big part of my fair experience, and it's just a chance to for all your hard work to pay off. And you put in so much time throughout the year, feeding them, walking them, working with them, and when it comes to fair time and you show them and you get that blue ribbon, or you place third in market and you get to go to the auction, it just pays off, and you get that feeling of accomplishment and all your hard work paid off, and it's the best feeling.
45 years ago, we were showing sheep in a broken down chicken house with the roof hardly, when it rained, all the decorations fell on the sheep, and the decorations were crepe paper, red, white, and blue. So the next day we had red, white, and blue sheep.
It's amazing. The kids running around like crazy, but what you don't see unless you look for it is the work that they put in with their animals, the work that they put in before they come down here. It's amazing to get their displays, to grow their vegetables, to get their animals ready, to work with their animals. The showmanship classes, our junior board is amazing. Some of the work that the young kids around here do is just off the charts, and they really, really embrace the fair, appreciate the fair, and you can see in their efforts. They wouldn't work that hard at home for me, but down here at the fair they do.
Bill DeMonday asked me to consider being superintendent of the horse department, and that's been rewarding. Of course, I've been involved with horses all my life, ever since I was 6-year-old, and I enjoyed being a part of the Delaware State Fair for all the exhibitors. And when you come to the Delaware State Fair and you see these children, 5-year-old and up, and the thrill they get when they get if they don't get nothing but a participation ribbon, it's just so rewarding to see them walk out with that big smile. So,
I think for sure, if you look at in terms of our level of participation for a state this size of only 3 counties, our livestock program, the level of competition and competence that we see in our young people for a state this small, as well as the level of participation in terms of numbers, is extraordinary.
A typical day, the day of the shows, are getting all the bookwork out, making sure the judge is prepared, that Russ has everything that he needs at his side, and a good show.
Numerous families who return to the fair each year have multiple generations represented, both in the show ring and as spectators, showing endless support.
It's really enjoyable to see how families have developed as far as one generation to another generation, passing on the livestock and showing animals and how much enjoyment that they get from doing it. And it's really rewarding to go out onto the grounds and watch the competition to see how well these individuals and the pride that they take in showing their animals.
Yeah, it was more of a family affair at the fair. There are a lot of small farmers back in the day that had maybe 15 cows or 10 cows, something like that. And the family would come and that would, it was more of a small family deal going on. And
we have exhibited dairy cattle here since I was old enough to walk. I can almost remember a memory from every fair since the time I was old enough to walk. I would say just the camaraderie with friends that we've had and other families through the years. I've seen people my age grow up. I've got friends and family and just day-to-day memories of the fair of something that you won't forget.
58 years old, and I showed here when I was started showing here when I was 11 years old. So looking back of what kind of facilities we had in 1971 compared to what we have now, it's astonishing how we progressed at the Delaware State Fair.
I have two sons. We started when they were 8 years old, joined 4-H, and with that started showing livestock. So I think they've shown every variety: hogs, beef cows, dairy cow, sheep. But they primarily the last 30 years have focused on beef. In fact, this will be our 30th year if we make it this July. So with that, people don't realize there's a lot of prepping before you get to the fair, a lot of money spent.
But I think it's the judging and the cattle have gone to the next level, and it's more professional than it used to be. But the family part of it was the neat thing about the fair.
The best memory I got is when they were late in their teenage years. They both were in the show ring at the same time with one of the lambs in the lamb department, and I just was standing back, and they were 18, 19 years old, both of them together. It just almost brought tears to my eyes that they were there together doing that in some of their final years here.
I have a lot of favorite memories, and probably one of the things that is probably at this point in my life and career that's most important to me or gives me the most pride or joy is seeing our young people that were young when I started with the livestock program now coming back as volunteers with children of their own is really rewarding, and really seeing them take ownership of that for the next generation.
In 1964, I had bought a heifer from Wayne Cawley in Denton, and I brought it to the Delaware State Fair to show it, and I won first prize with that cow, and I won a $2 bill from the Delaware State Fair in 1964, and the cow's name is Cindy, and they wrote Cindy on there in my name for winning. And after that, after I graduated from high school, I went into service, and I was in Vietnam as a medic. And this $2 bill was with me, and I've traveled all over the world in several countries and many of the United States, and this $2 bill has always been with me all of those years. And that was in 1964 when I got that.
A big promotion back for beef back in that late 40s was to have a calf scramble for the young members of the 4-H, which could catch a calf, take it home, raise it, bring it back to the Delaware Fair next year, and then after that fair, take it to the Maryland State Fair and sell the steer after the show. So my thing was, I sold my steer, bought my first car with the money that the steer brought, and I wasn't even 16 yet. My dad said, "Don't you drive that car on the road. It stays in the yard."
Livestock. We kept the tradition of the Delaware State Fair maybe being an agriculture-based type of fair. We got a whole lot of other stuff going on other than agriculture, but everything centers around the livestock shows, and, the tractor shows, and just the ag-related things that's going on. And that's what's been special to us.
Each year, tens of thousands of entries pour in for contests, special events, and various categories of competition. In 2018, the fair's 3,089 exhibitors totaled more than 41,000 competitive entries. Entries continue to grow and expand each year with a positive trend. The 4-H and FFA organizations have helped to continue the tradition of exhibiting at the fair. The Dover Building houses the best Delaware has to offer in culinary, children's, needlework, arts and crafts, garden vegetables, flowers, and farm fruit and apiary.
When they come into the Dover Building, in my particular department,
the first thing that catches their eyes are the quilts that are all hanging up, and they are amazed by them. We also have a lot of Afghans and a lot of needlework that's done. Across from me is the arts and crafts, where she has all kinds of crafts that go on over there. There's a children's department, which a lot of people think it's a part of the 4-H, but it is not. The children's department are for those kids that do not belong to the 4-H. So any child can be in the fair if they want to be.
4-H and FFA exhibit displays can be found in the Center Ice Rink during the Delaware State Fair. The 4-H program, which became national in 1914, focuses on 4 personal, leadership, and life skill development areas: head, heart, hands, and health, while also emphasizing citizenship, community responsibility, and global impact. Delaware has been cited as the first state of 4-H with the highest per capita participation throughout the United States. Future Farmers of America, now known as simply FFA, began in 1928 with a mission to develop youth leadership potential, personal growth, and agricultural science education for career success. During the fair, you can stop by the FFA Agricultural Education Center for hands-on activities and insight about the agriculture in Delaware. Members of the FFA also contribute to the presentation of the FFA Ag Venture Area, which was developed to help introduce the world of livestock and agriculture to individuals visiting the fair, most of who were not raised on or even set foot on a farm. Many Delaware State Fair directors and volunteers can trace their early connection with the event to youthful years as a member of a 4-H club or FFA organization.
I was involved with 4-H, and so I came up here to the fair as a 10-year-old or so, and was a 4-H'er for like 8 years. So each year I was put stuff in the fair and stuff like that, and gardening, vegetables and that kind of stuff.
My mother, her name was Mary Jester. My father's name was Ilwood. She was very active in the fair for over 30 years. Back in the late 60s up until the late 80s, she was very active in the needlework department. In fact, she made a quilt that had over 150 ribbons on it. She actually had over 700 ribbons and probably close to 1,000 when finally she stopped exhibiting.
My parents were 4-H members. I'm one of 8 children. Where we met was about a mile from home. Millwood 4-H Club was members of a big family like that. We all took part in the 4-H and stuff. I won judging cattle for 3 years straight through my Melford High School. Through the FFA, I worked my way through the school. I ended up as a senior as president of the club and was elected state treasurer of the FFA in my senior year. I lived here all my life and I enjoyed going to the fair. I was there this year even though I had a broken ankle.
I have 4-H'ers in my family, and they are very, very active in the fair. I have 6 grandchildren, 4 who are very, very active in the fair. They have showed sheep, you name it, goats, they've shown it. They've won top prizes. They've come out with just a ribbon. That didn't matter to them. It was the idea they were there, they were having a good time. They've entered arts and crafts, needlepoint. They've entered everything, and as a grandmom, I was proud to watch them. I remember the year my one granddaughter won grand championship with a goat, and we were just so proud of her and sitting there watching her.
We do the grains, the hay, honeys and that type thing, and fruits. We're fighting hard to keep the numbers up. Farmers are going out of business, and it's hard to keep particularly the small stuff going. But we're trying to spread the word to various organizations.
We anticipated the fair and the date the fair would be held, for months ahead, really. And of course, Mom would start getting ready. with her canned goods and stuff. I know the one year she canned 640 quarts of fruits and vegetables to see us through. 640 quarts. Remember it very well because times was tough back then, really tough. And the sheriff came out and counted her canned goods because Dad was late with his taxes on the farm. And they were thinking about taking her canned goods and selling them. That's how things were back then, when the fair was getting started. So I've seen a lot of history with the fair and a tremendous amount of history on the farm. Mom's ribbons and the enjoyment I had when we got to come to the fair.
Leadership of the fair has always been willing to try new things, yet understands the importance of maintaining its values and successful traditions. Decades ago, fairgoers decided that bigger and better also meant that they had to grow the shopping experience for fairgoers. They aimed to bring in options that might otherwise be too far to find, while continuing to emphasize the local business community. Today, telescoping flagpoles may be purchased just a short walk from the world's biggest hummingbird feeder, while water softening systems, hand-blended essential oils, custom tubs, outfits for babies, organic treats for pets, and more can be found on the fairgrounds. In addition, hundreds of businesses and agencies vie for fairgoers' attention, showing off their latest services, equipment, and products with demonstrations, samples, discounts, and freebies. In the earliest years of the fair, people who brought animals to the fairgrounds would snuggle up next to their cows or sheep at the end of a long day, or perhaps catch some sleep in their truck.
I stayed in a pickup down in the machinery lot when I was 10 years old, and I've been coming here ever since. That's 52 years ago.
In 1967, the fair established Camping in the Grove, welcoming fairgoers with trailers, trucks, campers, and tents. Over the years, electricity and more space has been added to the increasingly popular facility. But for most, it's more about family fun and a sense of community that has been established throughout the years.
Been coming here for 40, 45 years, and I look forward to it every year. It's just like that comedian said on the stage tonight, "Ain't nothing like coming to the state fair." It's different. A lot of people don't know that, and but they ought to know it because it's a great place for families to get together. And my son-in-law and I parked 2 motorhomes side by side down in the Grove, and we have what we call our fair family, and we probably feed 20 people every night, noontime and night, and others coming and going all the time. And it's an essential thing in a sense. Once the fair opens, the fair family congregates and goes.
My biggest tradition is coming to the fair and bringing the camper and staying in the Grove. That's, to me, is the heart and soul of the fair for the families that come to the fair, bring their children, bring their livestock, and that's what makes the fair. We're all here. We're one big happy family in the Grove.
These ingredients have made for a unique blend of both consistency and change, which delights fairgoers who look forward to finding their old favorites and also enjoying something new each year. One area of this approach can be seen in the assortment of cuisine found on the fairgrounds. Classics certainly endure, with popcorn, hot dog, roasted nuts, and cotton candy still providing old-fashioned fair flavor. And the landmark vendors with timeless offerings like ham platters made by the volunteers of the Delaware State Grange, moose ears by the Harrington Moose Lodge, and the Greenwood Mennonite School's barbecue chicken with roasted corn, and Harrington's own Kirby and Holloway boasting the #1 sausage at the Delaware State Fair, which keeps crowds coming back year after year.
a big change in the offerings that we have. In the beginning, it was more, our fried chicken and hot dogs and hamburgers and things like that. And now we have a variety of all kinds of the big turkey legs, the spaghetti. We have all kinds of offerings.
But one thing that I think is it's still family. Like you say, partners, I call this family. Next time it's everybody within the community come here, celebrate along with the fair, and I think it's family. We need it, and that's what we're all about. The Lord of Moose is about family.
Really, it's like one of the best of the facilities. Of course, all the farm animal buildings. It is not. It's really top. I would say it's way up there. Yeah. Oh yeah.
This size operation, we all volunteer. Everybody volunteering. Depends heavily on the FFA group, 4-Hers to come here and help us with preparation, serving, and all that kind of stuff. All through the WSA. And without them, we'd have a hard time. The kids have been great here, and it's been a good thing here.
Now, we make root beer floats, and I'll tell you how it started. Dave Woolward, we sell these sandwiches here with the waffles on top, and he wanted root beer float. I said, I don't have ice cream. He said, take one of them and cut it up in 4s. We cut it up in 4s. I probably sold 30 that night, and that's when I started going down and buy gallons.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
Even today, you see that grandmother telling their daughter and their granddaughter, say, don't go to any place except. They can still get to see those people. It's like homecoming. Yeah. Whether they come here and eat or just come here and talk, that's what we like.
Yes. My name's Aaron Bells, and my grandparents were Lloyd and Henrietta Bells. My father was Lloyd Edgar Bells, Betty Bells. I'm third generation. My son's showing foods over here.
We have come a long way, increased and tried to do more. Our scholarships, we give scholarships county-wide, statewide. We have in here working as each one gets older. We had FFA, 4-H, the Sheep Club, all 3 counties participate. They work 2 shifts a day here. And our money goes to them. We pay them.
It's a major income too for the 4-H. They rely on this on a fair. And that's my daughter. I mean, she was born here. Born in June. She was out here at 1 month old, and she's now 22 and working the business. And she is now a partner.
And my 2 sons, Dustin and David, grew up in. My oldest was born in '88, so he's been here the whole time. And those 3 are going to take it over, we think. We hope. We hope the guys goes on for another 20 years.
Exactly.
Food at the Delaware State Fair has been so wild that it has even starred on the national television show Carnival Eats.
Probably funnel cake is about my favorite, I think.
Favorite fair food absolutely has to be Sonny's fries with cheese and a Collins root beer.
The Italian sausage. My favorite food is the Italian sausage. My favorite fair food is probably at the Greenwood Mennonite School, the barbecue chicken.
Anything. Anything on the fair. Hot dogs, hamburgers, anything at all. And ice cream. Had to be Vanderwyn ice cream, too.
But my favorite food on this fair is Big Al's roast beef sandwich. That is the best.
It's well known that part of the magic of the fair is that during fair time, calories just do not count. Amusement rides and carnival games have been a staple from the fair's earliest days. Various companies have brought the Midway to life since 1920. In 1970, a new era began with the addition of James E. Strait Shows as the provider of rides and games.
Yeah, well, the carnival would come in, like by train.
They would have an advance man that would come in probably 2 weeks prior to the fair, prior to our annual stockholders meeting, or about the same time when we used to have the stockholders meeting, and he would lay the fair out. I mean, he would put string marked exact location for every piece of equipment that was going to be installed. Every ride had its place marked out on his master plan.
The Straight Show was the last attraction of its kind to travel by train, drawing crowds to watch its crews unload in Harrington, Delaware.
Well, it was very convenient. You know, they would pull up in the train yard there in Harrington and unload by truck. They some of the things would come off the rail car and go on the truck and be transported over to the fairgrounds. And it was quite people used to come in and watch the train unload. It was just like the circus train coming to town years ago. It was quite an event because I believe it was about a 23 or 25 car train that would pull that load into Harrington or any place where they played, really.
As the years passed, the fair joined a growing number of state and regional events, shifting their midway contracts to Wade Shows of Michigan. The greatest carnival on the planet have been providing entertainment at the fair since 1999. Today, the carnival boasts rides from kiddie rides all the way to super spectacular. From the Dragon Wagon and the Merry-Go-Round to the Mega Drop and the RC-48 coaster, there are plenty of choices and rides for everyone to enjoy. Over the decades, the fair would not have been possible, lasting or secure without vital supports from countless Delawareans who have worked tirelessly year-round behind the scenes to keep it safe, fresh, and fun for a whole extended Delaware State Fair family. It is without a doubt that the people are the fair's most valuable asset.
We wouldn't have a fair if it wasn't for the volunteers that come each and every year to help us, and when I say us, the board of directors and the staff, to put on this fair, because we need all of those volunteers who have given us many hours of service, and they do it because they love the Delaware State Fair. And it's great to see how all of these people come together and make us so successful year after year.
In 2009, a study was conducted to gain insight into volunteer contributions to the fair and concluded that the 10-day event involved 40,000 volunteer hours. From high school students to grandparents from all walks of life and with varying interest, the effort of our volunteers have been priceless and deeply appreciated. Our members of the board of directors and staff take the interests of the fair seriously and work with wholehearted dedication. Thousands have served in leadership positions as responsibilities have evolved over the past several decades. The effort not only contribute to the entertainment of our fair patrons, but pay tribute to the handful of townspeople who gathered at the railroad station to dream, plan, and make the fair a reality. Directors and staff members throughout the years have joined with their ambitious spirit, enthusiasm, and dedication to continue the work they have begun, and the dream to make the fair bigger and better.
I always wanted to work at the fair when I was little, and I had a career for 28 years and decided I don't want to do this anymore. So I looked probably for a year for a job. I couldn't find anything. And then one day there was an ad in the paper, and it was the Delaware State Fair. And I've been here ever since, and I love it.
I think for me, being a director at the Delaware State Fair is a responsibility that I take very seriously because In the livestock world, we're influencing young people that may go on to pursue careers and their passion in the livestock industry.
I came on in 1989. It was an honor to get on the board of directors because my mother, Frances Hatfield, was one of the first 3 females to be on the board of directors of the Delaware State Fair.
But I love coming here because it is a family event, and that's what I cherish mostly about being involved. Plus, I think people here, the directors, everybody here is so friendly, working together. The people who have the concessions, they're all working together. They're all part of that family. And you know, fair is family.
I become a director was the 1987. One of the happiest days of my life. I just could not wait to get on this board to have more fun than when I was already having.
Giving back to the community is something that I feel is important for all of us. And as I've gotten older, I feel like it means more to me to give back to the community. I feel like the Delaware State Fair has been around for over 100 years, and it constantly gives back and lets these kids see things that were from the old days. And raising the animals and taking care of the animals is something that hasn't changed for years. And
it's part of my life. I've been on the board now for like 45 years, and during that time I've learned a lot about the fair and fairs in general, and visiting other fairs has helped a lot as well. So I've served on all the major committees at different times, and I've seen us grow from a point when we'd have difficulty making the payroll to all the new buildings we have today on the fairgrounds.
Well, to be a director of the Delaware State Fair has always been an honor. You know, I can remember Mr. Dennis Hazard asked me to consider running for the director of the fair board, and I thought, you know, that's for people that want to get involved. And I had done the parade for a couple years, and after considering what we had done here, I said, you know, that is an honor to be able to serve the community. And there's so many people, I've met so many people by being on the Delaware State Fair board. You just can't believe the reward that you get from being here. I said, we spend 10 days here, and you know, it's like part of the family.
It's an honor to be a director of the Delaware State Fair. The State Fair has been a part of my life, even though I didn't grow up in Delaware. Until I was 23 and a half, I lived in Pennsylvania. My grandfather grew up in Harrington, and when I was a little boy, he would come down to see Russell Battle and Woody Holloway and those families. And so I was taken to the fair from when I was a little boy.
Well, it means that you have to volunteer your time to make sure that the fair continues to be successful each year. And you learn to know a lot of nice people and a lot of people that have the same thing in mind with regard to volunteering.
They're a group of people I feel extremely privileged to be part of, and to have an opportunity to maybe pay back a little with volunteering or a little time. It's an extraordinary group who put their politics aside for the most part and work for this common cause, and moving forward this dream that these people had in 100 years is a phenomenal mark for any organization.
The Delaware State Fair thrives because of the people. They are the ones who bring the music to our ears, the thrills to our community, and make the excitement memorable. We join in agreement with our past president, William M. Chambers, when he said at the fair's 75th celebration, "As future milestone celebrations come and additional chapters are written to history, the true legend of the fair will always be the people."
I would like to thank everyone who has given their time to the Delaware State Fair over that 100 years. For making it what I believe to be the best state fair in all 50 states.
And we would like to wish the Delaware State Fair a very happy 100th birthday.
Chris Young here. Happy 100th birthday to the Delaware State Fair.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Delaware. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to the Delaware State Fair. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Delaware Fair.
This is our story, our centennial celebration. This is the Delaware State Fair.